Okay, I just want to make a quick one more little tag video at the end of this thing. I'm getting a lot of papers from students, and the papers, and they're good, they're fine. But what I'm getting is, I asked you to compare two stories, but what you're doing is you're comparing the events in one story to the events of the other. Well, this happened in this story, and this happened in Romeo and Juliet. This happened in this story, and this happened with Macbeth mostly. This happened in this story. This happened in Macbeth. This happened in this story. This happened in Macbeth. Right? Macbeth killed a guy. Somebody killed a guy in the other story. Macbeth had a mean wife. The guy in this other story had a mean wife. This is fine. I'm not, you can pass like that. I'm not gonna like fail you or anything. But like, do you see how when I talk about Romeo and Juliet, I'm talking about ideas? Talking about like one idea the play is about is love versus sort of people who just think it's all about fucking. Or is true love a thing? These are ideas. When we talk about Macbeth, I talk about toxic masculinity. When I talked about Coriolanus, we talked about homoeroticism. We talked about class divisions. We talked about unsolvable problems. These are ideas. So it's fine if you want to write your paper and compare what happened in this story to what happened in that story. But boy, I think your papers would be better if you could also talk about ideas. Talk about have a paragraph that talks about why the author would write this story, and then have another paragraph to talk about what do people get out of it. Why do they want to watch stories like this? But also, what are the ideas? Every story, I told you this earlier, but every story is a kind of thinking. Every a play is a type of thinking. So the question I would ask you guys is what if you're comparing it to a movie, that movie is also a form of thinking. It has ideas on subjects like love, like power, like what there's lessons and there's ideas floating around in there. So don't just tell me about the story. Tell me about the ideas in the story. And when you're comparing the two stories, don't just compare the characters and the events. Compare the ideas in both stories. Compare what the authors are doing in both stories. Compare what audiences get out of it in both stories. Did you hear me talking about metaphor earlier? Compare metaphors in both stories. Compare irony in both stories. That there's more to life than this character did this and this and this and this and this, and this other character did very similar things when they did this and this and this and this and this. It's not. It's fine. Like I'm not mad at anybody who gives me a paper like that. It's just boring. Um, so whenever I do these, when I quote this thing and talk about it, I tend to take what's going on and talk about the ideas behind it. So just there are ideas in these things. I know it doesn't seem like it, but I'll give you a simple example. Spider-Man: Far From Home is a very exciting movie about Spider-Man fighting bad guys, but it has ideas. It is a movie about fake news. It is a movie about making movies. Um, uh, think about that with that movie. And there's a whole scene where Jake Gyllenhaal acts like when he's a Mysterio makes illusions. Well, those illusions are a lot like a movie. Um, so it's interesting to kind of every story has some ideas in it. Even a movie like Endgame, right? There's ideas in that movie about sacrifice. Is it worth it to sacrifice yourself to help other people? Or it's a whole bunch of ideas. There's not a lot of them, but there's ideas floating around in Avengers Endgame about heroic sacrifice and the value of sacrifice and helping other people. And do you lay down your life for other people? And what's the point of existence? And these kinds of things. So just add something to think about in your papers. Maybe beef them up a little bit. Also, again, do your best to. I recommend you see Romeo and Juliet. I like the Leonardo DiCaprio version. I think it's worth it to spend a couple of bucks on it for class. I think it's going to make these videos a lot easier to kind of handle and think about. But okay, well, I think I'm about done with this, and ask me anything, and I'll see you on the flip side. I'm not planning on making a lot of videos over spring break, by the way. Although I will be available if you want to email me, and I'm going to put some Ask Me Anything stuff up on the blog. But I'm going to kind of give you a chance to kind of catch up on some stuff during spring break and not put videos up. Okay, cool. Well, I think I'm done for the day. I will see you guys next time.